So I have three prepositions for you today: from, to, and with. And the reason why we have those three prepositions is because the letter to the Hebrews, following from last Sunday as well, the letter is still using that image of a runner in the race. And so today we have instructions about training, how to use discipline to be prepared for the race that we have to run, and how we keep going even when sometimes we get tired. And so the first thing I want to point out is that sometimes when we're running the race, it's because we're running from something. You know, maybe we had a difficult childhood. We didn't get the love or the security that we needed, and we're running so that we don't look back on that experience and get fixated on it. Maybe we're trying to distract ourselves so that we don't pay attention. Or maybe we had a bad relationship or divorce. Maybe our relationship fell apart and we're trying to do anything we can to keep from dealing with that pain. Or maybe we were laid off at work. You know, one of the most disruptive things that can happen to us is to lose our employment and then start trying to figure out how that affects our own self-worth. Whatever it is, sometimes we're running from things. And when we're running from things, just the adrenaline itself can help for a little bit. You know, I have a friend who said, if you see me running, call the police because someone is chasing me. Obviously not an avid runner. But you know, fear can only drive us so far. Fear can only keep us motivated for so long until eventually our bodies wear out and we can't run anymore. And so if we're just running from something, that's not going to carry us to the end. And then sometimes we're running to something. You know, we have these goals out there. I want to be able to make enough money that I can feel secure or that I can retire. Or I want to achieve a certain level of success. Or I want to find that relationship that really fulfills me. Or in a very bad phrase from a movie, to find the person that completes me. But you know, there is no one person who will complete us, because if we are not whole on our own, then we don't have the gift of ourself to offer to another. And so until we are self-possessed, until we know who we are, there's really no thing to run to that's going to be completely satisfactory. And so we have to be self-possessed in order to offer the gift of self to another. But whatever it is, maybe it's that financial goal. You know, John D. Rockefeller was probably one of the wealthiest persons in the history of the U.S. And a reporter asked him one time, he said, how much money does it take to be rich? And his answer was, just a little more. Now, of course, you could take that to mean that he had an insatiable greed that couldn't be satisfied. But I think he was actually wise enough to know, because he already had more money than any other person in the country, that no matter how much money you have, it's not enough. It will not be the thing that helps you to feel whole. And so if we're just running to something, if our lives are motivated by whatever it is out there that we think we're going to finally accomplish, again, it won't sustain us. And so then the final preposition is with. You know, there's a great phrase in Spanish, conmigo. And in Spanish, that phrase conmigo has a different connotation than just with me. Conmigo also translates when you're talking about a compadre or comadre, what we would call a godfather or a godmother, but it's really someone who's going to throw their life into the mix with you and help you as you raise your family. It's that person that's going to be there in the hard times. It's the person that will always show up. And so conmigo, with me, is a really powerful phrase. And so as we're running the race, what the letter to the Hebrews is trying to invite us to see is that the race cannot be run without Christ. Christ is the one inviting us to run with him in the race. And St. Paul gives us that beautiful image also of a cheering section. We have that cloud of witnesses cheering us on in the race and encouraging us along the way. And so when we experience our drooping hands and our weak knees, it is Christ running with us who encourages us, because the race is not ours alone. We are never on this path by ourselves. And that's why in the gospel, when Jesus says, strive to enter through the narrow door, he's talking about himself. Jesus Christ is that narrow door. And the reason why it's narrow is because no one else can do it for us. In order for us to enter through the narrow door, we actually have to develop a real living relationship with the person of Jesus Christ. And that's where the discipline comes in. You know, the word discipline has the same root word as disciple. If we're going to be true disciples of Christ, we actually have to train. There has to be a discipline about our intentionality in our relationship with Christ. And so that means if I don't have a routine of prayer that I use each day, then I need to start to develop one. If I don't have a regular process of training in spiritual life, then I need to start to discern how I'm going to build one. And the church also gives us the discipline of the sacraments. And so the sacramental life of the church is one of those ways that God is always training and preparing us for this race. And especially with the sacrament of the Eucharist and confession. You know, confession is not just so that I can go and clean myself up. It's really so that I have an encounter with the mercy of God who says to me, you are forgiven. And the Eucharist is not just a reward for the perfect. The Eucharist is nutrition. It is supposed to strengthen us, and it's supposed to heal us. You know, the Eucharist is what we come together to receive because we know that as sinners, we need to be fed. We need to be healed. And that's how our drooping hands and weak knees can be strengthened by the Lord, because he didn't intend for us to run alone. And that's why we use that beautiful phrase, if you want to go fast, go by yourself. If you want to go far, go with another. And the other who wants to go far with us is our Savior, Jesus Christ. He wants to run that race with us so that we can run as victors and win that prize.